Hey guys and gals, today's June 18th, 2019. I want to welcome everyone back. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the numbers behind this story about YouTuber Elijah Daniel, who purchased the town of Gay Hell, Michigan for one day, where he created the mandate that only pride flags could fly. And this was being done in protest to Donald Trump and how he recently banned, or which one did he do recently? Oh, it was the Trump administration's ban on embassies flying pride flags. That was it. And we will look at how the numerology of this story ties into Donald Trump towards the end of this post. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about the greater agenda that's at play here. However, that part I'm going to save for the end of the video, as I know that my subscribers are mainly here for the numbers. And most of you guys probably already understand where someone like me would stand on this issue. Understand, as we get to talking through this video, I want to talk about the definition of sin, the etymology of this word, and how the true meaning of this word and where it comes from might actually change how you view this word and what it really means. And just to provide a little more clarity on this entire thing. And that's not to say I believe homosexuality is a sin, but we'll talk about, like I said, the etymology, the implications, and a little bit more about the agenda. So, today let's start out with some very basic numerology. Now here we're talking about the language of Gematria. We'll compare this with dates on the calendars, both date durations, the measurement between dates, date numerologies. But Gematria is actually a very simple practice. The ancient Hebrew and Greek languages were based in an alphanumeric system. They did not have separate numbers aside from their letters. And in the English alphabet, we do have letters that are not numbers, but if you run the numbers that sit underneath each letter and add them up, compare them to dates on the calendar, you find some pretty wild alignments. And this is a great example right here. In this news story, it was the rainbow pride flag that Elijah Daniel was mandating everyone fly, or at least telling everyone they couldn't fly anything but this. And I want you to pay attention to the alphabetic ordinal value of rainbow pride flag. With A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, through Z is 26, rainbow pride flag equals 160. Now, perhaps the most significant cipher, aside from the alphabetic order that I teach, is called Jewish Gematria. This is based in the Latin alphabetic order and places the more modern English characters at the end, this cipher producing much larger numbers than the standard ordinal and reduction methods. Well, notice how in Jewish Gematria, Hell, Michigan also sums to 160. Elijah Daniel was born on January 9th of 1994, which means that on the date of this news story, which was from June 17th, the date on which he purchased the town and became mayor for a day, he was 160 days after his birthday, and without the end date included, today, the date on which this story made headlines, is exactly 160 days after his birthday. And this is what the news does. They give us everything by a numeric code having to do with the numerology of the people involved in the story. Furthermore, the 16th prime number is 53, and the word hell equals 53 in the same Jewish Gematria cipher. Now, if you instead measure from Elijah Daniel's date of birth in 1994 to the date that he bought Hell, Michigan, you'll find that he was exactly 9,290 days old. 929 is a fairly significant number in this study. This here is the number of chapters in the Old Testament. In Jewish Gematria, United States of America sums to 929. And when it comes to completing the United States of America, you may have learned about something in school called manifest destiny. Notice how manifest destiny also has this gematria of 929. But the important part of this riddle with 929 is that this is also a prime number. This would be the 158th prime number. And isn't it wild that in this same cipher, the word pride equals 158? And as we go on, we'll discuss how this is a story constructed by the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, the secret society who, at the top levels, appear to be running our mainstream media. This organization with an reverse alphabetic order value of 158. There is also a flag riddle embedded in the numbers here as well. Notice how that if you measure until Elijah Daniel's next birthday, it was 206 days before that date. In numerology, this represents the number 26, as zeros in the result are ignored. Using the alphabetic order, the word flag equals 26. And the date on which he made this mandate, 6 plus 1 plus 7 plus 2 plus 1 plus 9 gives us a value of 26. The date's full numerology, also 62, the reflection. And this all went down in the state of Michigan. Michigan was admitted to the Union on January 26th, which is, of course, the 26th day of the year. Not only that, but Michigan was the 26th state admitted to the Union, which I did not catch when making my post. But if you watch my videos, you know that I make a lot of somewhat staggering finds while I'm looking back at these pages, and that's because this numerology stuff is everywhere. Now, the 26th prime number is 101. And where did this story take place? That's right, the city of Hell, Michigan, which in the alphabetic order sums to 101. In the reverse order, we get another prime number. This time, 223, the 48th prime number. Pride flag equals 48 in reverse reduction. Also worth pointing out that in some of the other ciphers that I teach, the two other major ones I would say, English Extended and Satanic, June 17th has a matching ordinal value with rainbow. Now, the other numerology I didn't mention is 35. And this is the date's life lesson number, 6 plus 17 plus 2 plus 1 plus 9. And I find it interesting that YouTube equals 35. And this guy, Elijah Daniel, he's famous, of course, because he's a YouTuber. And what's really interesting about this is that YouTube, in ordinal, our most significant cipher, sums to 109. And this is exactly like his birthday, January 9th, written often as 1/09. This is also the ordinal value of Hell Mayor, 109. So we mentioned how this 109 connects to his birthday. Well, this brings us to the next part of this post, which is the Masonry code that they use and embed in all of their news stories, essentially to tell us that it's something crafted for a further purpose or a higher agenda. In the reverse alphabetic order, January 9th has a value of 169. And this number is special because it's 13 squared. And 13 is a huge part of this code. We'll touch on that in a second. He was born in the city of Detroit. which sums to 91 in ordinal, which is the 13th triangular number. Add every number 1 through 13, you get 91. In fact, there's 91 days in 13 weeks. In Gematria, Mayor of Hell equals 130 ordinal. Again, a lot like the number 1, 3, 13. And to cap it off, the number 13, see how this has a value of 45 in both reduction methods and 117 reverse. This guy's name is Elijah, which sums to 45 and 117. And his last name is Daniel, which sums to 45 and 117. Now, as far as why the number 13 is so significant to this code, actually turn off all these other ciphers and just turn on the two methods that are closely related to capital letters. And there's two methods here. One is called Frank Baconis. This mixes in capital letters with small letters. This is a name for the cipher that I made up, based on the Francis Bacon cipher, which is definitely a legitimate known cipher, and also uses capital letters, but uses them differently. Here, the capital letters come after the small ones. So the capital G, which is universally recognized as Freemasonry's emblem, has a value of 13 and 33 in these two important capital letter ciphers. So we discussed how the number 13 is relevant to this guy's numerology. Well, also check out his date of birth, 1/9/1994. If you add all the individual digits, you get a sum of 33. And Elijah Daniel is being pushed into the mainstream to promote the gay agenda. The word gay equals 33. This is a number that they love to stamp on gay people. There's a number of phrases here, pejoratives. You know, I don't really want to mutter these words because these words are reserved for wimps and people who don't want to face reality, not actual gay people. But anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. You know, this guy even has a rapper name. Look at this. He began rapping under the name Little Fag. What the hell is that? Anyway, so 33, all over this. In fact, the word homosexual equals 137, which is the 33rd prime number. And if you're familiar with my work, I commonly mention how the number 33 is related to the number 666. And this is very easy to explain through Gematria. Notice how 33 equals 66. Number of the beast equals 66. It's said to be the number of a man, which equals 66 in reverse. That chapter of the Bible that reveals the number of the beast even begins with, "Here is wisdom," which sums to 66. And if you write out 33, it equals 156, which is the same as both 666 and triple sixes. So we know that there's this connection as shown through the Masonic Bible. And I just want to point out, just like I did in my video yesterday about the death of Mohammed Morsi, if you measure from the most recent total solar eclipse, the Great American Eclipse in 2017, to the date of this news story, it was exactly a span of 666 days. And then, to top it off, the state of Michigan, where this occurred, founded January 26th of 1837. Look how old the state was. They just recently turned 66,600 days old. Here's another 6 in the story. And this is just kind of a theory of mine, but I definitely think there's something to it. The number 666 is not just used in relation to the number of the beast, but also as a symbol of base consciousness. And I'll get more into that as this post wraps up. A couple more interesting observations. Look at the gematria of Mayor of Hell, Michigan. Look at the Jewish Gematria value of 777. And this is further evidence that this story is just a numeric ritual, which equals 777. And I assure you, this is no coincidence. There's this Masonic motto, Ordo ab Chao, which is Latin for order out of chaos. Order out of chaos equals 777. And remember, this was done in protest to President Trump. President Trump took office on January 20th of 2017. And on that date, he was a span of 70 years, 7 months, and 7 days old. So hopefully we're familiar with the fact that the ancient accepted Scottish rite of Freemasonry is involved in these rituals. This organization has a reverse value of 227. And this is, of course, the number that's connected to the mathematics of the circle. If you divide 22 by 7, you get 3.14. This is the smallest equation to give you the first 3 digits of pi. And in Gematria, 22 divided by 7 sums to 314. In fact, Alt 227 on a Windows keyboard will give you the pi symbol. If you instead type in Mayor of Gay Hell, Michigan, this sums to 227. Because remember, he changed the name of the city from Hell to Gay Hell. So he's the mayor of Gay Hell, Michigan. And look at the ordinal value here, 227. Well, the name Elijah Daniel sums to 722 in Jewish Gematria. And I can't help but wonder if this is some sort of riddle for the United States of America. I pointed out how this story happened when he was 9,290 days old, similar to the Gematria of United States of America. Using prime numbers, which is the alphabetic order, but only prime numbers instead of 1 through 26, United States of America also sums to 722, just like the name Elijah Daniel. So, I hope by now I've sufficiently demonstrated that this entire news story is not just the work of one guy who wanted to make a splash and make a name for himself. This guy was told to do this. He's essentially an actor agent. And he's not any different than Donald Trump, who is simply an actor agent for the other side of this insane divide and conquer agenda. Consider my YouTube channel, for instance. You know, I started my YouTube channel, well, technically back in 2010. I was doing music videos, Tekken videos, things like that. It wasn't until 2016 when I started making Gematria videos. And in February of 2018, my channel was deleted for running mathematical equations. And the point I'm trying to make here is that YouTube, people don't become YouTube stars with their own Wikipedia page unless the mainstream media wants them in that role. Because a channel like mine, which was growing rapidly, was suddenly deleted. And even though the people were clearly being drawn to my work for some reason, you'll never see a Wikipedia page for Derek Tikuri, the Gematrinator. You'll never see me on CNN talking about the code of letters and numbers. You're only going to see the agents that they want in there. And many of their agents are pushing this agenda. And I'm going to use a term that I don't think I've used on this channel before, but it's in the Urban Dictionary, and it's one I find very fitting. This is the term globo homo. Now, for anyone who hasn't caught on to this yet, there is a depopulation agenda, but, you should have realized by now that they're not going to be rounding us into FEMA camps and executing us one by one, at least not while we're armed. The depopulation agenda is a long-term agenda, and it's one that they're attempting to accomplish through many subtle ways, and one of them is promoting homosexuality. Now, look, before I get too far into this, I have no ill will. I have no hatred in my heart for anyone who's gay. I am not gay myself, so if that's how you are and you don't know anything else, then that's who you are. And I'm in no position to say anything about that. You know, I know people don't like it, but I do have friends who are gay. I mean, you know, there's nothing wrong. I mean, it's who you are, and I accept everyone for who they are, and I love everybody for that. That being said, do I believe that some people are living gay lifestyles when they could be living happier lifestyles as straight people? I think that absolutely could be the case. And if it was up to this globo homo agenda, there would be many, many more people living gay lifestyles. And like I said, if you're born that way and you're not attracted to the opposite sex at all and you don't understand it, then so be it. You got to live that life. And I understand this could put me at odds with some of my subscribers, some people who come across my work for the first time. That's fine, but it needs to be said that this agenda is here, and it's not here for our well-being. And I know people they don't watch my videos to hear my beliefs on this stuff. They want me to run the numbers primarily. And I'm just going to bring up the chat here. Just to see if anybody's calling me an asshole yet. But the way I see it is that it's more ideal for a man and a woman to be together than two people of the same sex, because by being with someone of the opposite sex, you're learning more about people than you would if you're loving someone who is essentially very similar to you and has the same needs and desires as yourself. You're limiting how well you can grow and how you can learn. And, you know, if there are gay people attempting relationships, I hope they find someone they love and that they're very happy with and can remain happy with for a long time. But I don't think it's a big secret that there's not as much happiness within the gay community. It's different. And it's not to say that every straight marriage ends happily. Of course, you know, men and women are always at odds, and that's because, you know, we have to grow and learn to understand each other. But if globo homo has their way, you know, that will be happening less often. The more sterile people, the more less attractive people there are. Yeah, I feel like I'm talking in circles here sometimes, because this isn't my forte, talking about my opinions on things. But again, I mean, something needs to be said about this crap. Like, you know, I don't think it should really be celebrated, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. And you hear a lot from the communities about gay rights and whatnot, and certainly I never believe anyone should be discriminated against based on their sexuality. Everyone should have the same rights to working, to loving, to living their life and being happy. But I am very against it being out so out there in the open like this, talked about on the mainstream media. Because, look, I don't have any opinions on Bitcoin. I don't know why you think I do, so you might want to try and get someone else's opinion on it, all right? So, okay, so I'm going to catch up on the chat here. Since I started talking about this, there is a comment saying there's a high suicide rate among the gay community, and that's true. That's something that people should be aware of. And, you know, it should be something that is out there just as much as news stories like this, because people need to understand the truth about the results of these decisions. And I said decisions. Again, I don't think everyone who's gay made a decision to be gay. I'm sure a lot of gay people would probably rather be straight if it was up to them, right? I mean, the friends I've talked to, you know, some of them have confided that in me. So, I don't know what I said, but definitely nothing I'm saying applies to all gays. So, look, how can being gay end the population? Well, if people aren't in heterosexual relationships, they're not going to be having children. It's not going to end the population, but it can reduce it. Look at Japan, for instance. Japan is in this really, really weird stage of their culture where the boys of that culture are growing up very feminine, and they're not even regenerating their own population right now. They are literally dropping in population. And who can blame the women for not wanting to mate with these feminine men? This whole agenda is being brought to us for the same reason that the term toxic masculinity is now in the vocabulary of the nation, because they know that masculinity is sexy to women. Women might want to procreate with that. So, right, if it's true, 2% of the population gay, that sounds about right. I've heard 10%, which I think is a gross exaggeration. 1 to 2% definitely seems more. My point is that they're bringing this to the forefront more and more frequently, and now they're trying to normalize even transgenders. And that's not a whole different beast, but it's a different part of it. And yeah, again, I thought I've been clear by now. I'm not talking about all gay people, so it's all about reducing. Ezra, if you want to talk to me, man, join my Discord. If you go to my website, www.gematrinator.com, go up to the miscellaneous link here and go to Discord chat. And send me a message on there. Send me a direct message. And maybe we can set something up. I'm definitely up for talking about the Eclipse Code. That I know pretty much everything about. Someone else made a point, too, that since they turned everything upside down, the suicide rate has gone up in Straits. Well, that makes sense, too, because there's a mass amount of social programming going on right now. And what you're seeing as a result of that is confusion between the sexes and lots of animosity. Like, from what I've seen in my recent experience with dating women is that it's even different from like 10, 11, 12 years ago when I was in the dating scene to begin with, is that it seems like more women are looking for something wrong with you. That might not make sense to all of you, but I feel like I have these quarrels that about nothing. I don't know. None of my smart friends have kids. Well, this is an interesting thing too, right? Because I've noticed the similar trends, right? Smart people, no kids. There's, a lot of people say how the dumber you are, the more kids you have. I don't think that's true. If everybody was not having kids, then how smart is it to not have a new generation and just let the population die? That doesn't sound very smart. So if they were really that smart, wouldn't they be having more smart kids of their own to make the world smarter? The decision not to have any kids, I can respect it, but I think it's more of a cop-out. Again, we've been socially programmed to an extreme degree, and not having kids is part of that programming. They want to make parenting look so god-awful and marriages look so terrible. So I just want to challenge that and say, isn't bringing a kid into the world like some of the most challenging things? Like that's hard to do, to raise a good child, and to do so is approved of in the eyes of God, I would believe. So Henry J., you say that's Japan. Okay, so I mentioned how Japan is not regenerating their population because of this cultural programming. And while that's the reverse is true in America, we're still growing our population, but look at the segments of the population that are growing. It's mainly minorities who honestly are not under the same social programming that white people are. It's just, it's not a black and white rule, but this programming is seeping into the world culture, okay? It's just now making its way into the minority cultures more and more. And yeah, I think that's a lot of it too, is that people look around at the world and they say, oh, the world is crumbling. I don't want to bring a kid into this. And I totally understand that too. I mean, that was my thoughts for over 30 years. Of course, gay people are not monsters. No one's saying that. When it does come to Bitcoin, I do actually want to talk about the cryptocurrency that Facebook wants to talk about. Now, that to me is really interesting because perhaps no social media website is more closely connected to this New World Order agenda than Facebook. And the fact that they want to promote a world currency is actually a pretty alarming thing and might have more truth than something like the Amero or some other world paper currency. Like, that might be how they try to implement the world currency. So I got some decoding to do on that. Zach actually had a really good post on that today. And this is all I'm trying to say. Thanks, John the Savage. Mass promotion of gay is not good for a society. I agree with that. And, you know, you might look at this story and say, well, no, they're not promoting gay, right? They're not telling you to be that or that it's or whatever, but they are making the gay person look to be the hero in this story. And that's how the programming works. They're not going to come out and tell you what to do or what to think or how to think because they know that people often they automatically reject what they're told to do. So they have to do it subtly through mind control. And this mind control operation is very advanced. So this is what they do. They set up a villain, Donald Trump, who's made to look like a racist, sexist, homophobic pig who touches women in the genitals right when he meets them. And then you set up the hero who, you know, is standing up for the people and doing things to, you know, against the villain. And that's really the crux of this. And that's what I'm trying to point out. But look, I'm glad we're having this conversation, okay? Because, you know, this is something that does need to be talked about. And, you know, tolerance is one thing, right? But a culture of this is different. So, and I want to talk about the other side of this too, and I've had this conversation with people as well. Now, apparently there's been scientific studies, and I don't know how they carry these studies out, but they've claimed that in certain types of fish, once the school of fish reaches a certain size, that some of the fish began engaging in homosexual acts. And that kind of blew my mind, right? I mean, hey, if it's true that the world is overpopulating, then maybe some people are born gay so that it's not, so we don't keep producing people. That, hey, maybe that's true, okay? I'm not against that idea because I don't know any better. And yes, Trump is definitely an actor. What age should someone let their kids go to a pride parade? Well, I can't imagine anyone under 18 should be there. I can't imagine that. Definitely no way. And, yeah, what's crazy, it's like these pride festivals get so much airplay in the mainstream. There's a lot of really, really cool festivals that don't get any attention in the mainstream. Music festivals, for instance. EDC, Ultra, Electric Forest. You never see these things mentioned in the mainstream media because it's not part of that same agenda. And when you go to those festivals, you actually meet people and realize how awesome they are. You know, this world is full of a lot of love. And they kind of, I believe they don't want you to know that that part of the world is there. They want to make the world look as scary as possible. Nothing truer could be said. Waking up the masses is the hardest thing to do in life. Yeah. Well, the reason it's so difficult is because you cannot ever wake some people up. And I believe that's a fact. The only way they could be woken up is if the majority of the population not only believed it, but got in control and started establishing schools and stuff like that. So just be careful on how much energy you try waking up, or you spend on trying to wake up people who aren't already. You know, one thing that's bothering me about Henry J is how many, like, can't you just, like, combine some of your lines here, man? I'm going to give you a warning. If you keep doing this, clogging the chat up, you're going to get banned. Because you might be right. It could be a bot. Who knows? YouTube's crazy. Man, sometimes this chat scrolls down on me and I don't know where I'm at. Okay, here we go. Why is it a bad thing to have a gay hero? You don't get it, dude. Yeah, Henry, you don't get the point of this video at all, dude. Of course the gay community should have representation. Of course. Oh, I get it. Okay, so Jared Bailey's talking about how you can't really compare the school of fish study to humans, right? Because, you know, a dog will start trying to shag any old dog, right? Regardless of its sex quite often. And you're right. Maybe I'm oversimplifying it. Sorry, Henry. You're definitely a shill, man. It's pretty obvious. I don't know why he would be an Alex Jones follower. It's always obvious who the people who are trying to disrupt are. You know, because if anyone disagrees, like, you can state yourself in a very cohesive manner and type out a reasonable message without clogging the chat, without misinterpreting what I'm saying. Whatever. So, yeah, I felt very compelled to talk about this in light of this story. I know I've never really given this type of thing so much airtime before in any of my videos, and I kind of avoid it because immediately someone's going to misinterpret what you're saying. They're going to call you hateful. They're going to call for your removal because that's the world we live in now. You know, people with different opinions, you know, they don't even want them to have a platform. Now, what I should have gotten into earlier is the definition of sin and why I think this whole thing is intentionally messed up in our brains, all right? So let's talk about this. Now, the other two calculators outside of the English language on my Gematrinator application are Hebrew and Greek. And the reason I'm including these are because this is where the language of Gematria originated. And is it possible that Gematria is present in other languages than English today? Well, yeah, I believe so. And maybe one day I'll make a calculator where you can use pretty much any language and calculate the Gematria, but certainly Hebrew and Greek has a level of importance, and I do share Hebrew Gematria, sometimes some Greek isopsephy, because it's relevant. So consider the etymology of the word sin. So it starts off talking about Old English and how the stem of sunyo may be related to that of santis, or guilty. But this is not certain. But this is where it gets interesting. The English biblical terms translated as sin or sin from the biblical Greek and Jewish terms sometimes originate from the words in the latter languages denoting the act or state of missing the mark. And think about this. In Greek, sin is failure, being in error, or missing the mark, especially in spear throwing. In Hebrew, sin originates in archery and literally refers to missing the gold at the center of the target. So let that sink in for a second and consider how different that is from how we're brought up to think about the word sin. Myself and many others, I'm sure, when they hear the word sin, they think of something very, very damning, right? If you sin, you go to hell. If you're a sinful person, you're a bad person. That's what's kind of, pounded into our brains. And when you look at the actual etymology of the word and see where it comes from, all it means is missing the mark. This doesn't mean going to hell and suffering for eternity. It just means you're a little off target. So doesn't that change a little bit of how you see the word sin? And if someone refers to the act of homosexuality as sinful, what they're really saying is that, well, you're just missing the mark. It doesn't mean you're an evil person or that you're wrong or that you're stupid or going to hell. It just means you're missing the mark. It means that you're not finding the most happiness in life that you could be finding. And this is what I meant earlier, in where I believe that a man and a woman can have a more meaningful relationship than a man and a man or a woman and a woman, because, again, a man understands what a man's desires are. He already knows that. But by loving a woman, you have to learn and grow. And that makes you a more complete person. So if homosexuality is a sin, maybe it just means that you're just off course. And this kind of takes a lot of that, negative connotation with the word sin. It kind of takes it away a little bit. And if someone is called sinful, they take that personally. They take that as a hateful thing, but it's really just a suggestion, like, hey, maybe change your course a little bit. So, when I think of homosexuality and, is it just like the other sins, gluttony, for instance? Like, I don't meet a fat person and tell them they're going to hell because they're a glutton. I just think, well, they're missing the course. They're not living the happiest life they could be living because their body is out of whack because they're carrying too much weight and their chemistry's off. They're missing the mark. They're fat. I just think this is so interesting. So, yeah. I don't support censorship either. Obviously, I've been censored. And I give everyone a chance. I gave Henry a warning. I said, dude, stop sending so many different messages. And he didn't stop, so I stopped him. Yeah, everyone is responsible for their own feelings. That's true. Sumerian god Sin. I'm just reading from the chat here. I don't know about this myself. It was a moon god in Mesopotamian religions. And that makes sense because the moon is, of course, equated with the dark side or evil. It's no coincidence that the Death Star looks like a moon of Saturn and is pretty much the same size in the sky as our moon looks. Those are all entirely intentional. So, you want me to go live more? I've been going live like every day recently, guys. Like, I'm doing this and working a full-time job. So, hey, if I get fired from my job one day, maybe I will go ahead and make a Patreon and do this for a living. But right now, I'm just trying to, share what little knowledge I have with the rest of the world and hope that it helps people grow like it's helped me grow. Is there really a coal in Michigan? Dude, what is wrong with that state? Okay. Climax, Michigan, too? What is going on here? Well, I'm going to Michigan in a couple weeks. This will be interesting. What got me into the numbers? Great question. And thanks for the kind words, guys. I'm just sharing, like I said, the things I feel fortunate enough to have discovered and that have enriched my life. I hope that they can also enrich other people's lives, because that's what I think it's for. Knowledge is not just meant for a small group of people. It's meant for more. So what got me into numbers? Well, I guess it all started when I was really young. What's funny is that when I was a little kid, when I was like 5 years old, I vaguely remember like a period of just a couple weeks where, I would introduce myself to adults and I would tell them my name was 43, because I actually did this when I was a kid. I added the letters underneath my name. My mom and I were talking about this yesterday at dinner. Like, I actually walked up to people, and when they asked my name, I said, my name's 43, and my mom would have to explain his name is Derek. I've never told this story before because I forgot it, but I really did that when I was a little kid. And it's weird because, Derek equals 43, 92, and 29, just like numbers. Same values. My last name equals 99 and 90, which is the same as letters. Here I am teaching about numbers and letters. My name is Derek Takori, which is 142, and I'm teaching Gematria, the combination of numbers and letters, which is 142. So as far as what got me into it, well, I think the numbers got me into it. I mean, in all honesty, I was just drawn to this, My full name equals 1198 in this cipher. Nobody was calculating reverse gematria before I built this calculator, right? So, my honest answer would be that the numbers got me into the numbers. But no, and like, I always knew something was up with, 9/11. In 2004, I first learned about the conspiracy theories, and I was all over it immediately because 9/11 never made any sense to me. And it occurred on 9/11, the emergency dialing code. So I always knew something was up. 2015 is when I really, truly woke up, and that's when I saw the Charleston church shooting, and something in my head told me this is a theatrical thing. Zooming in the guy's eyes, looking in the camera. I said, something here ain't right. And then I saw that people still thought Sandy Hook was fake, so I set out to prove that Sandy Hook happened. I said, well, if this is a real shooting, there's obviously going to be plenty of evidence. And all I found was voids of evidence. And that's when I turned the corner, and I started looking more into alternative truth sources like YouTube. And I found Zach Hubbard's channel. And within about a year of finding Zach's work, I began to really take it seriously. Like, I always found it interesting. I felt like I was learning things. Then I started to see things happen in my own life that told me that what he was teaching wasn't the full story. So I reached out to him about some organic things that happened to me by the numbers, and I was so blown away by what I was discovering after making my calculator that I made my own channel, and the rest is history. So, I've always known something was fucked up in the world. I always felt like I was the smartest kid in class and that everyone was ignoring me. And I don't know. I just always had something to say and bring into the world. And when I found this stuff, a voice in my head told me I had to do this and carry this forward. And like I said, that's what really got me into it. Well, I prefer not to say exactly where I'm going. I'm going on vacation. If you listened to earlier parts of this video when I talked about certain places where people are happy and loving, you may have caught that. But really, I'm probably a little too paranoid about that kind of thing. I don't think I'm a target or anything, but, I just rather keep a little bit private, Huh. Yeah. Oh, I was definitely made for this. Yeah. I don't have a question about it. I think everyone's made for something. You just have to find it. And, the fact that my name sums to all these same things as numbers, there's something extremely mystical about this. Like, a lot of people make jokes that someone like me, a YouTube conspiracy theorist who's into numerology, is some guy living in their mom's basement. Well, that's not true. Zach and I both own our own homes that we purchased with our own money. But what I need to tell people, to kind of point them at this organic matrix is how much I paid for my house. I mean, A lot of people don't like talking about that thing, but for me, it was a huge thing about what, this mystic language of numerology and what it really means. Now, the house that I bought was on sale for $128,000 in change, right? And my brother was my real estate agent, and he suggested we put in an offer for like 125, maybe a little more. And we were about to do that, only to learn that someone else put an offer on this house before us. Knowing that, we put a larger offer in, and my brother suggested that I pay exactly $130,000. And I was like, yeah, I like that offer. My name equals 130. In fact, my father's name equals 130 in that same cipher. And my address, the numbers on my house, 4 digits, the same year my dad was born. So that's some trippy shit. And when I grew up playing sports, whether it was hockey or Little League Baseball, I always wore the number 32. And part of it was because it's a power of 2. 2 to the 5th power is 32, and I loved powers of 2. 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512, 1024, 2048, whatever. I love those numbers, always, growing up. So I liked 32. And, so that was always the number I wore growing up. So here I bought a house, and the date that the house was signed over to me was June 1st, but my birthday's June 4th. So I joked with my brother after buying my house. I said, how funny is this? I'm going to be moving into my house right before my 32nd birthday. House equals 32. I wore number 32 growing up. 2 days later, we got a call from the current owners, and they asked for 3 more days of residency. They wanted to live here until June 4th, and then I moved in on my birthday. So, this mainstream media, the reason they do things by the numbers is because they know how the world works, and they believe, I think, that they are earning favors from the gods by doing things by the numbers, because that's how God operates. Or maybe this is something to do with rebellion against God, by using his own code against him to try to warp God's children's minds, right? Because this Gematria stuff is just flipping crazy, man. I mean, I was joking with somebody, too, a couple weeks ago, because I was telling him about Gematria, and I was like, you're probably thinking about the movie, the number 23. And he was like, one of the guys said, yeah, like I was totally thinking about that the whole time. And then I shared with him the fact that my full name, as it appears on my birth certificate, equals 203. My birthday... I was born in 1985. My birthday, 6 plus 4 plus 85 equals 23. And my work on my channel is primarily centered around total solar eclipses. And there was one total solar eclipse in the year I was born, November 12th of 1985. And look at that. I was born exactly 23 weeks before the nearest total solar eclipse. So how weird is it that me, the Gematrinator, the guy who made the calculator that brought Gematria to the masses, happens to have the number 23 littered all over me, right? It's insane. And then you have the movie Pi. Well, I should probably be specific here. The movie Pi. The lead actor in this movie, who basically gematrinates the Bible, which is what I've done. He runs the gematria of the Hebrew Torah and uses it to find the name of God. Well, I haven't found the name of God, but I have found some very, very important codes inside the Bible. And the lead character was Sean Gillette. And look what his birthday, June 4th. My birthday. So the guy who runs gematria in the movie has my birthday. And in Jewish gematria, birthday equals 604. That's my birthday. What the hell is going on, guys? So I don't really believe that we live in the Matrix. I know we live in the Matrix. And, you know, these things are just... these things are incredible. Uh, okay, wait. I got more stuff to read here. Yeah, it does feel like I don't know. Guys, time itself, as we understand it in this reality, time is this illusion. Time is not linear. So the fact that me as a kid introduced myself as 43 to adults, like, there's nothing coincidental about it. It was like my destiny manifesting. You know what I mean? And welcome, Anne, catching me live for the first time, as many people often do, since not everyone gets alerts. So yeah, I mean, I understand that at this point I've kind of accepted the fact that this work will probably never reach the mass of humanity. It's only going to reach a small minority of us, but if I can enrich those people's lives and help them grow with, the help of this knowledge and this language, then I feel very happy about that and fulfilled. Yeah, well, my privacy, I mean, it's a little late for that. Like, everyone already knows my name. You could probably find out where I live if you really tried. The days of my privacy are pretty much over, so the way I see it now, I mean, if something were to happen to me, I hope that everyone here would kind of use me as a martyr to advance this cause even further. I think, right, if you wake up one day and find out that I'm dead, wouldn't that actually do more for Gematria than anything else? I mean, there's people who, I've been contacted by a lot of people who have made it clear to me that this work has made a big difference, and I think someone would probably take the reins and carry this forward. But yeah, your house address number is very significant to you as well. I totally believe this. And I just helped a friend move in March, and I made a joke with him because I was like, his name summed to 25, his last name, in reduction. And he was moving on the 205th day of his 25th year. So he was 24 years, 204 days old. And I was like, this is cool. Your name is 25, you're in your 205th day of your 25th year. Guess what apartment number he moved into? Fucking 25. I shit you not. Like, I just stood at his door and looked at it. I was like, are you kidding me, dude? So I seem to be hooked on Gematria. Really? What gave it away? You're a non-believer? Do you mean you're a non-believer in God? Because I would say that's probably not the best stance to have. I don't think that's accurate. I think none of this is possible without God. The fact that these numeric alignments can happen in my life are the best evidence, I believe, of there being, well, in addition to the fact that solar eclipses exist, I think that's some of the best evidence that there is a God. And we're here for a reason. This God, while it's a loving God, it's not necessarily a God that we all like. He's not going to make it easy for us. He's going to test us. So I think the idea that, people don't believe in God because he's so evil and lets so many bad things happen, well, how else are you going to grow without those things happening? What's the point if there aren't bad things happening? And I think I believe this too. Like, the more you use numbers, the more synchronicity happens. Maybe just the more you pay attention to them. I try to tell people, pay attention to the numbers of your name, and just know those numbers, and you'll probably start to see those numbers. I can't tell you what the numbers of your name tell about you. I don't necessarily believe, I mean, there might be some truth to it, that our numbers necessarily mean anything, but maybe they do. I will say that I've found that the people I have matching Gematria with sometimes really blows me away. Like, one time, back when I ran my podcasts every week, I would run down all the news stories of the week, and I would be talking fast, and I'd go through all the stories, and they're like, oh, this is a lot like Ben Shapiro, right? Someone else who just sits there by himself and talks about all these news stories. And I was like, yeah, you're kind of right. It is kind of like Ben Shapiro. Well, look at Ben Shapiro's Gematria, 203, 95, and 337. Look at my name, 203, 95, 337. Like, so is it possible that I'm on a similar wavelength with someone like Ben Shapiro? And this is a guy, like, I don't totally know what to think of him. I do see him as being part of this agenda. Like, he tries and makes, all the stupid shit that happens in politics, he tries to make light of it and make it seem silly. I don't think all this shit is that funny. I think it's a joke being played on us, but he doesn't frame it that way. That being said, I agree with a hell of a lot that he says, just not everything, but that's, if he's an agent, that's how the agents are set up. They reel you in with things that are normal to believe, and then they stray you a little bit. But, at least I respect this guy. He's got a hell of a work ethic. He's super smart. And then I saw his numerology, and I was like, you got to be shitting me, dude. Even his Jewish gematria. Look at that shit. Mine is 1198. His is 1197. What? I knew it. 666, 1197. This guy. Silly Jew. Again, thanks for the kind words. I'm very fortunate to have stumbled into this. I was looking for it, without knowing what I was looking for. I found it, and here I am. So, yeah. Wait a minute. Who's talking about fighting in here? Well, that's not cool. I'm glad I don't have 666 in my social security number. What? That's a weird thing to say. So this is one of the most interesting questions I get asked, and I ponder it all the time. Are the politicians, the celebrities, the media, are they awake to gematria, or are they all just puppets? I think most likely it's a mix. I think a guy like Anderson Cooper is probably well-versed in gematria, understands it. He probably is familiar with the Kabbalah, what this world really is, how to ascend, etc. Your local news anchor in Toledo, Ohio, doing the 10 o'clock news, I don't think they know shit about gematria. They're just out there reading a script. Actors, celebrities, again, it varies. I totally believe that some of the actors have no idea that they're being used as numeric riddles. Same thing with athletes. Not all these pro athletes know about this. I think a lot of them know that shit is shady and that sometimes they have to throw a game. But, yeah, I mean, that's one of the most interesting things about this, right, is that gray area. What of what we're decoding is natural numerology? What is man-made? What is being staged by the numbers? Who knows about this code? Who's just acting and carrying it out? I don't know all the answers, but I mean, just through educated guessing and years of research, I would say that it's definitely a pretty good mix, with the majority not knowing. Yeah, you guys, I mean, just look back at your numerology, look back at events in your life, and this stuff will start to pile up. These numbers are no joke. Yeah. Well, yeah, okay. This is a little bit in line with what I said earlier. Like, if there's no evil in the world, how do we grow? Well, I mean, clearly my goal is to reduce the amount of evil in the world by exposing the evil that exists. I think it is our job as humans to lower the entropy of this Earth system with each generation that passes. So, for instance, my dad jokes because I have a desk job and I work primarily from home. And he often jokes that I'm not really working, even though I'm fucking answering emails and doing credits and, I'm busy all day. And, I kind of said, well, what's the point of working all day? Like, each generation just constantly works all the time to enrich the upper class. Is that how we're going to keep evolving? We're just going to stop evolving and just work? Like, we have to expand. We have to better understand this world we're in and why we're here, because this is something that a lot of people are struggling with these days. And earlier we were talking about suicide rates being up, and a lot of that has to do with a lack of purpose that people feel in this world. They don't understand the world that we're in. They feel lost. So one of my soft goals with this research is to help lower that entropy, the same entropy which has been stirred up by the mainstream media and fed to the masses. Well, you got to say, I mean, Shapiro and I are obviously both driven to do something, right? I mean, that's the thing I was getting at. Like, we're both trying to be leaders in something, so never mind. How is he I wouldn't say he's of average intelligence. The guy's pretty sharp. He might not be like a brilliant genius, but he's sharp. I mean, whatever. I'm just saying, you got to give the devil their due, okay? Oh, Ben, you're not Satan, are you? So, yeah, I mean, I do have a real job and everything, but I mean, I'm very blessed to be in the position I'm in. You know, I get extra time every day pretty much, where I don't have to drive to work and get dressed for work every day. Like, that gives me extra time to make a post or two, and then I can do these videos. So the way I see it, like, I'm not in love with my job. I don't even really like it right now, and it's kind of annoying to do, but it enables me to share this work, to live this lifestyle, to have money, and, do what I need to do. So I'm not unhappy. And yes, Shapiro is acting. I agree. Okay, well, I finally caught up with the chat. And again, thank you all for the kind words. If it wasn't for, people chiming in and contributing to the research and letting me know that they're listening, I wouldn't keep doing it, I've commonly said it, and I've struggled with this in recent past even. I've commonly struggled with whether or not I should keep doing this research, if I should keep letting this take so much time out of my life, because there's things I'm missing out on, but I don't know. I mean, it still enriches me. It still enlightens me. I feel like I learn something every day. I feel like there's still a lot more truth to uncover. And I feel like someone even smarter than myself is going to eventually come around and advance this work, take it further, and maybe even, improve the predictions that the community is making, right? Because we can always do better. And the better the predictions get, the more people will get turned on to it, the lower the entropy of the system. That's ultimately the goal. So yeah, when I say God bless at the end of every video, I really mean it. You guys, you all make it worth it, is what I'm trying to get at here. So, in my vacation in a couple weeks, I will be definitely enjoying a lot of nature. I will not be having any screen time, which I'm very much looking forward to. And, just take a little mental reset. And I'll come back. I'll be hopefully stronger than ever. Last week I came back from vacation with a really bad sinus infection, so I'm well equipped to dodge that this year, and I plan on pretty much jumping right back in when I come back. So, oh come on, Ezra, I'm a truther on YouTube, dude. Think about that. All right, everyone, that's gonna wrap this video up. Thanks again to everybody for watching. Like, share, subscribe, censorship, yada, yada, yada. And, thanks for helping share and bringing the world to their senses that we've been so far removed from over time. Peace, love, and God bless. See ya!